Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna allazina kafaru sawa'un alayhim a anzartahum am lam tunzirhum la yu'minun. Khatamallahu ala qulubihim wa ala sam'ihim wa ala absarihim ghishawatum wa lahum azabun azim. These are verses 6 and 7 of Surah Al-Baqarah. After describing the attributes of the God-conscious people who had already begun to be guided by the Quran, now the Almighty is mentioning in these two verses those people who are not going to get guided by the Quran. And the Almighty has mentioned these two verses to give comfort to the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, who always used to find it very problematic and painful to see that there are some people who, despite the fact that he was sincerely communicating God's message to them, were not taking the message properly in the manner that it deserved to be taken. God Almighty mentions that indeed, innal lazina kafaru, those people who have rejected the faith knowingly, sawa'un alayhim, it is just the same, a anzartahum am lam tunzirhum, whether you warn them or you do not warn them, la yu'minun, they are not going to believe. Khatamallahu ala qulubihim, and the next verse goes on to explain why God has caused their hearts to be stamped, wa ala sam'ihim, and likewise their ears, wa ala absarihim ghishawa, and there is a curtain in front of their eyes, their sight. They cannot see. Walahum azabun azim, and for them is a huge punishment. What the Almighty is mentioned here is quite often misunderstood by people who ask this question as to why is it that on the one hand God himself has caused people to have their hearts stamped and therefore they are not in a position to believe anymore, and on the other hand they are blamed for not believing. The fact of the matter is that the Almighty has described his law in the Quran, which can be given the title of law of guidance, wherein he mentions that the people who take God's message seriously, because God's message is convincing, because it addresses the questions which all humans want to get answers to. Despite the fact that the message comes to them, some people, they can see that it is coming from God, and yet because of one weakness or another, either because of their ego or because of their base desires or both, they refuse to understand, acknowledge and take seriously God's message. To begin with, they are given opportunities after opportunities. But even though some people do avail those opportunities and accept and believe in the message of God at a later stage, there are some who do not give any indication, any inclination to believe in the message of God because of their own incorrect attitude, because of their overindulgence in worldly matters, in worldly pleasures. They find that the message of God is requiring them to take it seriously, to make certain sacrifices, to be more serious about the life hereafter, which is something that they are not prepared to do. And therefore, they start ignoring the message coming from God. And God Almighty, after he has given people opportunities to believe in, when he finds that they have rejected the message over and over again, there comes a point in time when he decides that enough is enough for certain people. Because of their continuous attitude of denial and rejection, he stamps their hearts, so that the hearts of some people at a certain stage, they become incapable of appreciating the light that is coming from God's message. It is only God who can decide it. Nobody else can know about it. I cannot accuse anyone of having his heart rendered completely useless as far as God's guidance is concerned. But the Almighty in this particular passage is giving the messenger of God, his messenger, assurance that it is none of your faults. that some people are not accepting this message and taking it seriously, it is their own fault. May the Almighty enable us to understand His message and to take it seriously so that we get guided through it properly.